Hello, my name is Gioia Jacobson, and I'd like to wish a very happy International Women's Day to the California Women's Society for Democracy in Iran. It is a Tuesday morning, and I'm doing a science experiment with my kids. We're trying to make a volcano. We have been unexpectedly homeschooling now for a year alongside so many others, trying to keep the world safe, staying at home. I'm fortunate to be employed, and whatever struggle is involved in working from home while educating two children here is a privilege compared to so many possibilities. This year has made it abundantly clear how essential women are, both in terms of paid positions that they hold and also in their essential role as caregivers to children or to the elderly or both. The New York Times ran an article last April entitled "How Millions of Women Became the Most Essential Workers in America," and noted therein that women make up nearly 9 out of 10 nurses and nursing assistants, most respiratory therapists, a majority of pharmacists, and an overwhelming majority of pharmacy aides and technicians. More than 2/3 of the workers at grocery store checkouts and fast food counters are women. In normal times, men are a majority of the overall workforce, but this crisis has flipped that. Millions of women around the world have also left the workforce this year, in an exodus that leaves female employment down to levels not seen since 1988. According to the National Women's Law Center, women accounted for 100% of job loss in the U.S. in December 2020, with women of color shouldering a disproportionate amount of that loss. An article in Forbes published in January 2021 entitled "American Women Lost More Than 5 Million Jobs in 2020" cited a demand issue as well as, and I quote, "a well-documented caregiving crisis that has found women holding primary caregiving roles at higher rates than men. With the closure of in-person schooling, women were basically forced into leaving their employment or cutting their hours." In Iran, the crisis of workforce equality, even without the compounding influence of the pandemic, is even more stark. Valentine M. Moghadam, professor of sociology and author of Modernizing Women, Gender and Social Change in the Middle East, noted that according to Iran's 2016 labor force survey, very few Iranian women are in the total labor force. Nationally, the female population is 39.4 million, of which perhaps half could be considered to be of working age. As such, out of a total labor force of 21.3 million, just 3 million Iranian women are employed outside the home. If we compare these 3 million Iranian working women to a total of 18.2 million working men, the gender divide in employment becomes clear. How can these injustices be rectified? Moghadam wrote, "Women's employment correlates with educational attainment. Those with just elementary education are less likely to join the labor force, whereas having higher degrees tends to raise women's participation sharply. Married women are less likely to enter the labor force, although highly educated women, married or not, tend to remain at their jobs for longer periods." She also clearly stated that for Iran, the transition to a modern and women-friendly gender regime will be a source of national strength and resilience, as well as the foundation of women's economic and political empowerment. It is a Tuesday morning, and I'm doing a science experiment with my kids. We're trying to make a volcano. My 3-year-old wants to use water instead of vinegar. "You can try," I tell him, "but it needs certain ingredients to make it work." We measure out some baking soda and add water. Nothing. We start again. Baking soda, food coloring. His 7-year-old brother wants to add a whole cup of vinegar to make a bigger explosion. "You can try," I tell him, "but it takes a balance to make the magic happen." He pours all the liquid out. We get a small fizz and then a vinegar river. "They have to be equal," I tell him. "If they aren't equal, it just won't work. Try it again." Baking soda, vinegar, equal parts. This time we get a big reaction. The existing inequities cannot be viewed as an issue isolated to women. Clearly, these inequities are also a detriment to the societies these women live in and support. We are called to be the voice of learning that takes stock of what has worked well and what has not worked. We are called to promote education for girls and women, as this, perhaps more than any other single factor, promotes equality. Let us see what sort of a reaction we can create in the world if women can show up as what they must be, equal.